So moving on, what should a manager do in the first 24 to 72 hours after receiving their feedback?
Right. Well, I think there's an important point to raise about actually when people are receiving feedback. You should make notes of what the inspector is saying to you at feedback, because this is your real opportunity to understand where they're coming from and what the issues are. And in fact, it might be even better to record the feedback that the inspector is giving you, because you know when you are in a meeting or something like and you're making notes, you find it difficult to be fully engaged with what's being said to you because you're concentrating on what you're writing down. So if you record it, you can play it back at your leisure and really understand what the feedback is. But you can also be very engaged when the feedback is happening, be completely focused on what CQC are saying to you. So that, I think that's a really important. There's loads of devices out there that allow you to do that. But always say to the inspector you are recording it. And they should allow that to happen. There's no reason why they shouldn't allow that. When you receive, when you've unpicked that feedback and written down that feedback, go through it and really highlight what the positive and negatives are within that feedback. Again, it's getting rid of the tone and the noise from things, so you really understand what was reported back during that feedback. And also in the first 72 hours, if you've got that feedback and you've read that feedback, you've understood the feedback, and you think that there is additional evidence that CQC could have to allay some of their concerns that they've said, get in touch with CQC and share that additional evidence with them before the inspector gets round to writing a report. There's still a chance to affect the content of the report after the site visit if they accept the additional evidence that you can send through. And also, I'll just allude to what the future is going to be with the new Chloes and the characteristics of ratings that are going to be coming back. That details under every one of the new key lines of inquiry what outstanding, what good, what requires improvement, and what inadequate looks like. So compare the feedback that you receive to those characteristics of ratings, so you're in a better position to understand what was said. I know that's looking to the future a little bit, but it's best to have the binoculars and look to what the future is, so things don't blindside you when they come.
Really practical advice again there. Thank you for that. I'm sure everybody's going to find that really useful. So moving on from that, how do you prioritise actions when multiple areas have been identified?
Well, hopefully there won't have been multiple areas identified, you know, because you're all very skilled people and you'll be excellent at the jobs that you do when you're managing services. So hopefully this won't happen. But if it does happen, I would focus on the most serious issue first, like where there's been the biggest impact on safety for the people that you support within your service. It's tempting to pick the low-hanging fruit first and go for the easy stuff first and think, oh, right, I've made that much progress. But if you've not addressed the real heavy-duty stuff, you're going to be in trouble. So as much as it might be against the grain of the way you normally work, go for the big fish first. Get rid of and address the bigger issues first. Prioritising at multiple areas. Develop an action plan. So don't just keep it up here. Get it down on your laptop, piece of paper, whatever. So you've got some template or something to work from when you're deciding which actions are the most serious. Even write them all down and go next to them and rag rate them, red, amber, green. So you're basically doing a risk assessment of what the has been identified during the inspection. So if you've got a red thing, deal with that first. Green stuff can probably be put to the back burner a bit. With multiple areas as well, you can't, if you're a manager, you can't do it all yourself, because you'll end up drowning, panicking, getting too stressed and not doing a great job. Share the responsibility, identify who the best people are to do those actions, and work in a multidisciplinary kind of way. You know, the phrase a problem halved is, no, the wrong way around. A problem shared is a problem halved. And you could use that philosophy, and CQC will like to see that as well. They want to see a service running across the board and not be focused on one individual. So I always say that if the manager wins the lottery and doesn't turn up the next day, that service should still run. It shouldn't collapse around its ears because the manager's not there. And one way you can do that is by sharing the work and delegating the responsibility. And that's really important when you've got multiple issues to address. So I think that's probably okay on that one, Kelly. I think.
Really helpful guidance again there, Ed. Lots for people to take away with them from that. Thank you. So the next question asks, who should be involved in reviewing and responding to the feedback then?
Well, the manager should always be involved, because the manager is the registered manager, and registered manager is an important thing. You know, don't be terrified by it, but it's like being the landlord of a pub. You know, it's your name above the door. You are the person responsible for what happens. So if you're not there and not involved, you can't oversee and be sure what's happening is of benefit and improving the quality of your service. So you should always be involved as a manager. And like I was saying on the previous question, but just because you're in charge, it doesn't mean to say you've got to do it all. Delegate, work as a team. And also it might be better if things are shared, because it shows that you trust your team with doing things that are really important. And it'll make any future inspections less of an ordeal, because more people will be aware of what is expected. So yeah, involve the relevant people. And like if it was a care home service, for example, if there was an issue around the hygiene of the home, you'd want to involve the housekeeping staff or the head housekeeper. Or if it was an issue about meal times and nutrition, you'd want to involve the chef in that process. You can't be a master of everything within your service, or else there'd just be 10 of you running around the care home with your knowledge and your skills. People are specialists in certain areas, and you need to recognize that, share it, and trust those people to do what they have been delegated to do. Yeah, so in summary, don't do it all yourself. Share it, find the best person there is to do it, give them the responsibility, and it could also be seen as CPD for them, and also increase their skills. And ultimately, it might assist with retention of staff, because they feel more valued and want to be involved as well. So there are multiple reasons why you would do that. But I think the main one, as far as this is concerned, is satisfying CQC and getting them off your back as much as possible.
Yeah, great points there about delegation, collaboration, teamwork as well, Ed. So thank you for that. Thank you. So next, I've got two common scenario questions that I'd like to discuss, if that's okay, and with some specific questions related to each of the scenarios. So for the first scenario, if a service receives feedback highlighting concerns around medication management and staffing levels, what would your immediate priorities be?
Right, immediate. That's a scary word, immediate. So I wouldn't I wouldn't do anything as a knee-jerk reaction straight away. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering. I dare say that reference is lost on most of the people listening, but don't panic. Take time to review, assess, and plan. 10 minutes, a day planning things will save you time in the long run. So use that time to identify what your priorities are. Don't just go off, oh my God, this has happened, I've got to do this. Plan, 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 plan. And don't stick to what was actually received, what those areas of concerns are. The danger is you receive medication and staff, and you receive information about those areas, but the temptation is to look at it in a more holistic way and start unpicking other areas. Focus on what the nub of the issue is to start with. Other stuff might fall out of it that needs addressing and looking at, but don't do that to start with. Wait for stuff to fall out of what you're looking at to start with. So focus on the issues and areas identified and not a full-scale review of everything. And again, as I said earlier on in this presentation, deal with the most serious concerns first, because by definition, they are the most serious. They've got the biggest impact on the people using your service. And you don't want to ignore that or delay that, the response to that. You need to really get stuck into that straight away. So, okay, I know I've not really focused on the staffing levels and medication, but these are more general ideas about how to manage the issues raised.
That's fine. Just kind of still sticking with that scenario though, how would you triage risk versus longer term improvement?
Right. Triage is very medical for a social care question, but I'll go with it. Again, it's focusing on the most serious issues. And then you could almost do a bit of a risk assessment to identify the level of likelihood of things happening again in the future and the impact of that hazard. So use risk assessment as a way of sort of triaging. Risk assessments are great, and they can be used in a multitude of different areas. So risk assess, and longer term improvement, you should really be planning for longer term improvement. This longer term improvement could be anything from 2 months to 5 years in the future, you know, depending on how strategic you're going to be about it. And that longer term improvement should always be a goal that's worked towards. It is going to be a longer term, it's going to be more strategic, and you might need to take baby steps to embed that practice. Because you know, when you're building something, if you build something in a rush, the likelihood is it'll collapse quite quickly. But if you build something slowly, get foundations, build at different levels on your way up to achieve that full building, then there's more chance of it's withstanding pressures and standing the test of time. Yeah, so the more, be very clear on the planning and being thorough in the planning as well, as far as longer term improvement is concerned. But if there is an immediate risk, you have got to address that straight away and use that risk assessment process to fully understand the range of objectives that you've got and categorize them as, do I need to do that now? Is that a medium-term goal? Is that a longer-term goal?
So what does a strong action plan look like from a CQC perspective then?
Well, ideally, it's addressing the issues that the CQC have found and keeping it focused on what they've identified. In an action plan for the CQC, don't go beyond what they have found and said that you need to do. That's like feeding the machine when you don't need to feed the machine, you know what I mean? Just focus on what they said and found. And any action plan really can be summed up by being smart. And I'm sure you're all heard during your other lessons and training about SMART objectives. To have that in your mind all the time when you're writing an action plan. Is it specific? That's what I was talking about, is keeping it focused. Is it measurable? So is there an outcome at the end of it that you need to get? Is it achievable? So don't say you're going to go to the moon when all you want to do is go for a walk to the corner shop. Keep it achievable. Keep it realistic. So make sure you've got the resources and the staff and the equipment to deliver what you're saying in the action plan. And really, really important, the time-bound stuff. Make sure there's an end date to it. The number of action plans I've seen when it says ongoing at the end of it, and it just makes me go, an action is an action. It should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, not ongoing. If things are ongoing, it means you've not addressed it properly. So yeah, I think the main thing is sticking with those SMART objectives when you're doing a CQC action plan, because they will look at it and they know about SMART objectives and they will see that you're working in that way and will be quite receptive to that way of working and that style of action plan. But so I've seen it happen with some people. They're not used to getting recognition. They're not used to getting praise for what they're doing. So something that might seem a bit trite to you or me might mean the world to them. You know, don't just take it through your perspective. Look at the perspective of where staff are coming from. And make action plans fit into day-to-day practice and work. Don't make them a bolt-on or an add-on. Make them custom and practice. So staff are all aware of them, that they thread it through what their daily work is, rather than, again, it's like an add-on to satisfy somebody else.